Hello everyone, this is Erik, the Asian movie enthusiast, and this is my review of A Night in Nude, Salvation. Quite a spicy title. A Japanese exploitation thriller from 2010 that was directed by Takashi Ishii, the director who gave us titles such as Gonin 1 and 2 from 1995 and 96, Black Angel 1 and 2 from 1998 and 99, and Freeze Me from 2000. I have reviews of all of those on my channel already. Ishii is also well known for his flower and snake films, which can get very spicy. The following plot synopsis for A Night in Nude Salvation was taken from the website J-Film Powwow. Jiro, played by Naoto Takanaka, who's well known for his comedies nowadays, is a man who can do anything for you, for a price. Part odd jobs man and part private eye. He takes on tasks as simple as clearing out storage lockers or tracking down lost items. That's what he's asked to do by a beautiful young woman who shows up at his warehouse living space one afternoon. This young woman asks Jiro to help her track down a lost Rolex watch that she says was accidentally thrown out of a helicopter while she was scattering the ashes of her late father. Now this guy knows the story is not true, at least that's what his gut tells him, but he needs the money. So he and the young woman begin poking around miles of woodland in the proverbial search for a needle in a haystack. Miraculously, he finds the wristwatch, but it's attached to a dead body. Needy but not stupid, he hands over this evidence to a sympathetic policewoman. And little does he know that this discovery will lead to another case filled with violence, sex, and danger. He's going to have to go into the heart of darkness, yes. So A Night in Nude Salvation is a sequel of sorts to a previously made movie titled A Night in Nude, also directed by Ishii, and that came out in 1993. And that also starred Naoto Takanaka. Now, it has been years since I've seen either one of these films, so I don't remember how closely related they are or the similarities and stuff like that. I only rewatched this one recently. In any case, this film opens with a bloody stabbing death of an old man by 3 murderous prostitutes, and they even chop him up in the bathtub and take his Rolex. Yes, the same Rolex from the plot synopsis. So these ladies run a hostess club for the purpose of finding male targets, and they get these usually older men in, find a way to steal their resources, and then they clean up loose ends by murdering the dudes. So they're pretty vicious people. So, this movie's not really so much a mystery as it might seem when you read the plot synopsis, because you see these ladies do their thing immediately. However, the character interaction contributes some pretty gripping events here. Like the youngest of these 3 women receives most of the attention and runtime in the film, and her character is kind of an intriguing blend of victim and femme fatale. And the story becomes more intriguing near probably the midpoint when Takanaka's character discovers more about her and actually contemplates assisting her to get out of her predicament despite the possible dangers present. It's kind of this classic tale of like a normal everyday guy getting into a situation that's like way over his head, and you're not sure if he's going to make it out. But I liked it. It's pretty interesting. This movie is quite odd, however. It does not progress like your typical thriller. It's more of like an artsy-fartsy type vibe. This is especially true during the final act, which is very unconventional and kind of weird. A few of the characters become emotionally unstable, and there are a few extended scenes of them dealing with their psychotic breaks, so to speak. And because of this, A Night in Nude Salvation does lack the adrenaline rush and thrills that you might expect from like a Korean thriller or a faster-paced, Hong Kong thriller. This is more of like a slow burn, stylish, erotic suspense flick. The runtime is pretty long. It's 2 hours and 24 minutes long, so perhaps a bit too long. It is. The pacing does drag at times in this. Another fact to take into consideration. Now, Ishii does create quite a gloomy mood here. As our protagonist explores like the seedy underbelly of urban Japan. The atmosphere is pretty dense and hypnotic at times. There's some dreamy lighting, an occasional set of neon lights, a depressing score, and some decrepit structures that are pretty impressive. There are a few huge, like, stone caves. They're kind of hard to describe. Very cool locations, though. And there are also some segments of downpouring rain, and this has some style, for sure. There is a lot of nudity, but it fits in with the feel of the film and the title as well. And the one lady does have some impressive curves, so I was fine with it. In any case, I do recommend A Night in Nude Salvation. If you're in the mood for an artsy, weird, stylish, erotic thriller. Availability for this film is complicated. The reason I decided to rewatch it and review it is that it is streaming on Daily Motion, but it cuts off at the 2-hour mark, so you're going to miss like 20 minutes of content. I do have an old copy of like a bootleg DVD from way back in the day, so that's how I watched it in its totality again this time. There is a DVD available on the Asian Cult Cinema website, which I have not used in years, but it is an option if you want to take a chance on that. So this isn't really readily available right now outside of that website, the DVD on that website. Now, the first A Night in Nude movie from 1993, I just found out this week, is set up for an awesome Blu-ray release this year by Third Window Films. They're doing a 4-movie Takashi Ishii box set, and the first Night in Nude will be included in that. So hopefully, Salvation will get a similar treatment in the future. We can only hope. And as always, folks, I'll see you next time.